This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, January 8th, 2007, and this is episode number 202 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hodgeberg from MGMstudios.org. On the show today is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
Hiya, buddies. 202.
And we've also got Len Testic, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World, which is online at touringplans.com. Welcome, Len.
You know I got it, Matt, if you want to come get it. Stand next to this money saying, hey, hey.
It was better when you just quoted David Lee Roth.
See? I've converted you.
Well, that's relatively speaking, of course. Well, on today's show, we're going to be talking about comparing the Walt Disney World classes of resorts. You've got, of course, the values, the moderates, and the deluxe resorts. And what really differentiates them? What are you paying for when you get a deluxe resort versus a moderate resort, or what are you getting from a moderate resort to a value resort? And it's fairly simple. I think a lot of people can kind of see it black and white between, say, a value and a deluxe. But you know, it's kind of hard. A lot of people always want to know: is it worth it? What am I getting if if I've been staying at All Stars for all these years and I want to upgrade maybe to a moderate resort? Am I really what am I paying for? What am I getting in this? So let's start with the value resorts, and of course those are the All-Star resorts, all three of them, as well as Pop Century. Now, when we're talking about any of the resorts, we're talking about a few different factors. Now, first, and the most defining factor between any of these three echelons of resorts is, of course, the price.
You said echelons in the podcast. That's impressive.
I've been boning up on my thesaurus over here. Price being the it's what makes the world go around. I mean, you're likely to spend, depending on your season, Len? At a value resort, you're a little under $100.
Well, the value resorts are the least expensive of the of Disney's resorts. So during value season, you could pay as little as $82 a night. Those are 2007 rack rates for standard view rooms. Now there are, I think we've talked about this before. There are what's called preferred locations. These are buildings that are closer to the central lobby where you'll find dining and stuff. And those are about $12 more expensive. So and the fact that there is a preferred location, I think, is the fact that there is a category called preferred location illustrates one key aspect about these value resorts that differentiates them from the moderates and the deluxes, and that is that they're huge. It's not uncommon for the value resorts to have 2,500 rooms, for example. Whereas I think if you look at some of the other resorts like Old Key West or Port Orleans, French Quarter, you're talking maybe 1,000 rooms, maybe even less. I think the Poly only has 800 rooms.
Right.
Yeah. So size, you'll have a massive number of people, staying at these. Again, it's because of the rates. It's a sort of a bulk lodging. This is Disney's answer to some of the larger downtown Disney resorts that charged lower rates, sort of the Holiday Inns, the Red Roof Inns of the world.
Yeah, the size is really, it's quite a factor when you're considering, what you're getting for it. You're going to be competing with a lot of people, and you're going to be seeing that in two different places that really stands out to me. One is when you're waiting for a bus, typically back to the resort, from one of the theme parks, and the other one is at your dining facility at the value resorts. Since the value resorts all have counter service, food court type areas, you can really be, you're going to be in a sea of people over there potentially.
Yeah, that's a good point actually for two reasons. Number one, the location of the value resorts, the way that Disney's put them is that they're all fairly far away from the theme park. So, for example, the deluxe resorts that are in the Epcot area, you can walk to Epcot. The deluxe resorts in the Magic Kingdom, you can either walk, take a boat, or take a monorail to the Magic Kingdom, and you'll be there within 15 minutes. However, there's no choice to get to any of the theme parks except by bus or car from any of the value resorts.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, this question comes up a lot. It's almost always faster to drive from the value resorts to any of the theme parks or any Walt Disney World destination except for the Magic Kingdom. And the reason why for the Magic Kingdom is that if you drive to the Magic Kingdom, you'll end up at the transportation ticket center. But location is a good point. The other thing you mentioned was what, dining?
Yes, dining.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing.
at the Valley Resorts, you're getting food courts. All 4 resorts have.
Mall-like food courts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And generally, I mean, Disney does their best to provide some variety, but it's fairly generic American food. They've got like cafeteria style food courts where they'll make you bacon and eggs for breakfast, and bacon, egg, and cheese croissant, as Christina would say. Croissant. And they've got like a sort of a mini convenience store in the back where you can get cold beverages, fresh fruit, sandwiches to go, and stuff like that. But by and large, these things are designed to feed a large number of people very quickly and as efficiently as possible. So you're not really getting anything in terms of ambiance. You're getting I hate to use the phrase bulk food, but you're getting pre-packaged or pre-processed food that can be made in large quantities in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean the dining options. I mean they're really there if you just want to grab and go.
It's not to say they're bad, but I mean, it is what it is, right?
It's efficient.
Yeah, it's sort of like how the company that I work for employs a few thousand people. It's on the same scale as the the cafeteria where I work. Maybe it's probably a little bit bigger because it has larger peak times, but it's the same idea. So if you like the cafeteria where you work, or if you're familiar with that, that's probably what you're going to get at the Valley Resorts.
Now, quickly, Len, at a Valley Resort, how much room size are you looking at? What square footage?
You're looking at about 260 square feet. And here's the interesting thing: the way Disney measures the room size is it includes the bathroom, and it includes the area under the sink, and it also includes the area where the furniture is too. So the most bathrooms are around 6 by 7 or 6 by 8 in Disney's resorts. So subtract another 45 feet from that from Disney square footage, and subtract the area underneath the sink, because you're probably not going to put little Timmy underneath there to sleep, and you're left with about 200 square feet. And what I like to tell people to do is measure out a box that's go out in your driveway and buy a piece of masking tape. This is the most inexpensive way for you to get the realistic feel of what you're going to experience in a Disney resort. Go ahead and get a piece of tape and make a triangle, or make a rectangle that's about.
I like the triangle idea. That'd be really fun.
Actually, Red Roof Inn did a triangle shaped bathroom, which is what I was thinking of. But no, sorry, Motel 6. Motel 6 in Kissimmee has a prototype hotel that does triangle shaped bathrooms. But hold on. So get a roll of masking tape. Just cheap masking tape. Go out in your driveway and make a rectangle that's about 12 feet wide and about 22 or 23 feet long. And then get everyone in your family and see it, and imagine you living in that 8 hours a day for as long as your vacation is, because that's how much time you're going to spend in that.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, when it comes to the room size in the Valley Resorts, I always advocate if you stay there, when you're considering staying there for short periods of times, meaning for a short trip, maybe less than a week, and of course you're probably not going to be spending much time at the resort, kind of eating and sleeping at best.
Mm-hmm.
Room size is definitely a concern.
Well, it is only when you're getting ready in the morning, and then when you want to take a shower at night. You've got 4 people, right? Typically, what you see in the Valley Resorts is there's no privacy curtain between the sort of the sink / dressing area and the bathroom and the rest of the room. So essentially, you're showering and you're getting dressed in the bathroom if you're to separate the girls and the boys. And it's it's humid in the bathroom. It's cramped. I mean, you've got like with the commode and with the bathtub, you've got maybe 6 square feet, in which to get dressed. It's cramped. I mean, there's no way around it. It's small. Now the moderates get around this by actually having a sliding curtain that separates the bathroom, the dressing area, and the grooming area from the rest of the main room, but they don't have these in the value resorts, and it's a shame because it's an inexpensive way to provide some privacy. So, I mean, just the sheer logistics of, who's got to get in the shower first, who's got to do their hair, where's everyone getting dressed, where are you putting all your stuff? These are logistical things that, when you do it twice a day, every day for a week, it tends to get on people's nerves.
Absolutely.
And that's a big consideration.
And
like, the hell with it, I'm going outside and getting dressed. it's foggy, who's going to see me, No, really, I mean, you're like, it's just, you got to start planning, the Lord knows the unofficial guide loves to plan things, but, when we start planning who's got to go to the bathroom first, that's, maybe it's time to invest in a larger room. And I think, Disney says that these things sleep a family of 4. Dude, if you got 4 people, especially 4 kids who can function on their own, look at a moderate resort if you all can, or look off-site. I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, of course, the other thing to keep in mind before we move on to moderates is the theme, and evidently the value resorts invested in plastic as their theme, because they have lots of gaudy plastic all over the resort.
Yeah, gaudy, yeah. I mean, it's sort of big, iconographic stuff, like, a giant Coke can for, was it All-Star Sports?
Yep.
Sports? Oversized Lady and the Tramp
character
stuff that characters that pops. I mean, 3 stories tall. So that's sort of the decoration. And the thing that bugs my wife the most is to see in the 90s building of Pop Century the phrase "What's up?" Because I think you see it driving in, and I just kept doing it over and over and over again.
Well, I like to call the theme the Wizard of Oz theming, which is pay no attention to anything behind the large plastic object in front of you,
Exactly.
which of course is terrible, boring buildings.
I mean, it's just the rectangular buildings with very little theming other than that. So, but sort of so value resorts, it really, if money is an issue, and you really 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 want to stay on Disney property, and you don't have 4 kids or 4 adults, God forbid you have 4 adults in a room, it's probably the way to go. We should probably mention that All Star does have some suites. They're fairly nice. They start at $179 a night rack rate. They go up to $285 during holidays.
Wow, that's a lot for All-Star.
We actually compare them in the unofficial guide to the cabins at Fort Wilderness, which is your alternative. If you need to sleep a lot of people reasonably comfortably for not a lot of money, that might be the way to go on Disney property.
Now, the moderate resorts, you're looking at about 314 square feet for all 4, and of course those resorts are Caribbean Beach, Port Orleans, French Quarter, and Riverside, and Coronado Springs.
Again, you're looking at roughly 314. Again, the bathrooms are a little bit larger. Maybe you're looking at 9 by 6 or 7. So you're looking at maybe 50, 60 square feet.
Right.
So and the rooms are a little bit wider too. I think they're like 1.5 or 2 wider, a couple feet longer. So the rectangle that you're in is like, I don't know, let's say 23 by 12.5, something like that.
Right. And
23 by 13, let's say, which is a little bit bigger, and it does matter. There's also probably much more storage space in the moderates.
And of course, the price. What are you looking at for price at the moderate resort? You're looking at a little bit more than
a lot more actually. So at a value resort, the rooms are running $82 a night, least expensive rooms. It's $145 a night at the moderate resort. So it's a pretty big jump there.
Yeah, it is. And I've some of them. I mean, with the exception of Caribbean Beach, the size. Well, I shouldn't say that. I should say half. I mean, the Caribbean Beach and Coronado are quite large in terms of. One of the things we talked about, value resorts, they're very large in terms of size, but Caribbean Beach and Coronado are very large resorts. Caribbean Beach being a former value resort, whereas Port Orleans, it's more.
Caribbean Beach was a value resort?
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, wasn't Caribbean Beach
maybe
back in the day?
Prior
back in the day, yeah,
okay, prior
before
to
the All-Stars.
All-Star. Okay.
Oh yeah. No, exactly.
Okay. And by value, you mean it was the least expensive.
Relative, yeah, exactly. It's relative to the time. Yes.
That's a good question. I don't know, but that might be a good point because I recall staying there like 15 times when I was young, and probably because it was the least expensive.
No, it definitely was. I mean, back before the All-Stars came out, and then the All-Stars, kind of undercut Caribbean Beach and made it almost by default, it became the moderate resorts.
Right.
But anyway, going back to my original point, Port Orleans, French Quarter, and Riverside are on the smaller scale, French Quarter being really small and Riverside being being larger, but not quite to the extent of Coronado Springs or Caribbean Beach.
They're all relatively large in terms of the space that they occupy, and again, they've got they probably got more than, I'm sure they've got more than 1,000 rooms each. I don't recall the exact number, or off the top of my head.
I've got it. You got Coronado's got 1921. Caribbean Beach has got 2112.
Yeah. So okay.
And
That's a great
Port
Portland's
Orleans.
combined as 3,000, but it's like 2,000 and 1,000.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because you look at Pop Century, which is half full. It's got 2,800 in just its half. The All Stars have 5,600.
Yep.
And you're looking at roughly 2,000 for the moderate resorts. Here's the thing. I mean, they're spread out over a fairly large area. I mean, the walking time from the farthest point in Coronado Springs to the lobby is still like 10 minutes. I don't care how you walk it.
Yeah.
And Caribbean Beach too. I mean, Caribbean Beach, if you're in some of the Caribbean Beach is broken up into islands. Countries like from the Caribbean. So there's one for Martinique, there's one for Aruba, there's one for Barbados, for example. And some of those are fairly far to walk from your room to get to like the food court.
They're far to drive. Never mind.
And they're far to drive too. So there's an internal bus system actually in Caribbean Beach that doesn't. Coronado Springs, it's all walking. But the thing I think that differentiates the size of the the moderates and the value resorts is, one, they've managed the scale very well at all three of those resorts, at Caribbean Beach, all four, Caribbean Beach, at Coronado Springs, and at Port Orleans, Riverside. Each they've taken a small number of buildings and themed each of those sets of buildings individually. So Caribbean Beach, you've got the islands like Martinique, and the color scheme is different than the next island over, which might be Barbados. The color scheme's different. They've arranged the buildings so that they form a little courtyard, and there's picnic areas and places for you to rest. It's very lush. The landscaping is well done. There are walking paths. It's quiet.
The theming at the moderate resorts are, I mean,
bang for the buck. It's not bad.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they blow away the value resorts in terms of theming. It's very intricate, very nice. I love the theming at the Port Orleans resorts. It really conveys a feel to them. I think they all have it.
So Port Orleans is interesting because it's got at Riverside it's got the the Magnolia Manor, which is sort of the large white and black and white sort of terraces from buildings from Gone with the Wind. They've got the formal, rigid, geometric courtyards, grass courtyards. They've got they look like something out of Gone with the Wind. But then they've also got in the Alligator Bayou, they've got sort of, I'm not going to say shacks, but they're sort of more rustic. I would say Louisiana Bayou type architecture.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, whereas you're looking at the value resorts, they're essentially rectangles, 3-story rectangles with external theming, plastic theming icons bolted on. Yep.
Now, of course, the dining options on site, you're still dealing with mostly food courts. There are some exceptions. You do have Maya Grill at Coronado Springs. You've got a few dining options at Port Orleans Riverside.
See, I think Riverside and French Quarter. Well, Riverside I think has the worst food court of the moderates. It's more like the value resorts in that it's the single thing.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, it essentially it's the same, much better theming. Don't get me wrong, but it's essentially the same type of food court as you see at the values. At Caribbean Beach, you've got more like a mall type setup where you've got slightly different vendors selling different things. So there's a place for burgers, there's a place for salads, there's like a bakery. I think they do. Do they do Chinese food? I'm sure they do Caribbean food. They're somewhere. Coronado Springs again, slightly different. You've got the Pepper Market place where you can get grilled food, and obviously it's themed to the Southwest and Mexican, but it's got a great variety of things you can do there, and it's got the sit-down restaurant in Maya Grill, which isn't great, but it's an option. It's okay for breakfast.
Now, when you're evaluating between a value, let's say we mentioned this earlier in the show, if you're staying at a value resort, most of the times, and now you're considering, what am I getting if I want to go for a moderate resort? What are we looking at? The differences being better theming,
Better thing, little bit better room.
A little better room, right? Don't you get that the thing in the moderates? I mean, I call it a bench, but Disney calls it a day bed or I don't know. It looks like a 2-year-old could maybe fit on it, but you get that.
Yeah, the furnishings in the room are a little bit better. Yeah, you get like a small. It looks like a small piano bench, right? Where,
Yeah.
It's like maybe 3 feet wide, maybe a foot and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect size for an Oompa Loompa.
Exactly. Well, it's a place to sit down your suitcase in when you're opening it up, right? If you don't want to throw it on the bed.
Right.
But yeah, it comes with that. I mean, the bathrooms are a little bit larger. You do have that sliding privacy curtain. I know in some of the resorts. I think I know Caribbean Beach has it in some of the rooms we inspected. I'm not sure if they have it in all, but it's a sliding privacy curtain that allows people to get dressed in the grooming area while everyone else is sitting in the main part of the room, which is nice. I mean, the downside is the the price. I mean, during holiday periods, a standard view room at a moderate resort is $200 a night plus tax.
Yeah.
$200 a night is fairly expensive. If for that you're starting to look at like Gaylord Palms, where you can get like sort of like a deluxe room offsite for you're in the range of that kind of money.
I think when I think of the resorts, the different classes, I mean, value and moderate are kind of close together, and as you go from moderate to deluxe, now you're seeing a greater leap here. In terms of what you're getting. Also, the price also is a greater leap given, but the differences are far greater between a moderate and a deluxe than they are between a moderate and a value. Would you agree with that one?
In terms of theming,
I think in
yeah,
general,
in terms of food options and in terms of transportation, yeah, you're right. So we didn't mention this on the moderates, but the moderates are generally somewhat closer to the theme park. So your transportation distances, especially at Epcot, your transportation distances and times are going to be smaller. You're still not, walking distance, I think, to anything, but you're close. And in terms of recreation options, I think you've got more.
Yep.
At the moderates.
Yeah, I mean, they're. I think the best way to put it is that they're shorter bus rides or car rides, depending on what you do.
Shorter bus rides or car rides, you probably have more resort options.
Right.
Go ahead.
Now, on the deluxe resorts, we're talking about Contemporary Resort, Polynesian, Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, Boardwalk, Yacht Club, Beach Club, Wilderness Lodge, and Animal Kingdom Lodge. The room sizes kind of differentiate. You got on the larger scale, you got the Grand Floridian, which is clocks in at 440, and
the Polynesian's pretty big too.
Yeah, the Polynesian's 415. The smallest, I think, is Animal Kingdom Lodge and Wilderness Lodge at 344.
Now, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but I mean, I think you would agree, and I think Newell, you would agree too. The Animal Kingdom Lodge and the Wilderness Lodge are more like somewhere between the moderate and the deluxe.
Yeah, they're glorified moderates.
Exactly.
Size, price, and amenities. I mean, the theming is a notch above the moderate resorts. The room size is much closer to the moderates than deluxe. Services much closer to the moderate than deluxe. They generally have sit-down restaurants, and they've also got a counter service place. The pool is a step above the moderate resorts too, and so they're sort of like Disney's really got sort of four categories of resorts, if you ask me.
Yeah, and of course you hit upon.
Oh, and they're not within. They're also not within walking distance of the theme park.
Right. Whereas in
I think all the other deluxes are.
Yeah. Well, with the exception of Animal Kingdom Lodge, although it should be.
Well, yeah, okay, but I'm saying Animal Kingdom Lodge and Wilderness Lodge
Lodge
are sort of
being-
like the super deluxe.
Yeah,
Sorry, super moderates.
Yes. No, I give you that.
Mini deluxes. Say what you will.
Yeah. And I mean, I like a lot of them have like the Boardwalk Inn. You've got you even got a mini kitchen over there. I think that with the deluxe resorts, if you're planning on staying, I think for more than a week, or you're not planning on going to the parks every single day, if you're going to have one, at least maybe 1-2 days off where you're just going to be staying in the resort, kind of taking it easy, then deluxe resorts are, I think, becoming a more viable option. I just don't see for the average family that's going to Disney World and is planning on going to a theme park every day, and at most having an afternoon break at the resort. I don't see, shelling out the extra money for a deluxe resort prudent.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean the Contemporary I think starts at so the moderate resorts are around the $145 a night, and remember we said that the Wilderness Lodge and the Animal Kingdom Lodge are like one step up from that. Those are $215 a night, the least expensive rooms.
Yep.
Back right. Now a standard deluxe is more expensive than that. It's instead of $215 for the Animal Kingdom and Wilderness Lodge, $260 a night, $259 actually for the Contemporary. But then it jumps up to $315 a night for the least expensive room at the Yacht Club, the Beach Club, the Boardwalk. The Poly's like $320 a night, and the Grand Floridian you can't get into for less than $375 a night.
Now, of
So
course,
I mean, you're looking at a huge chunk of change there, difference.
yep. And there are other resorts, the Disney Vacation Club resorts, which kind of are,
Yeah,
they exist on their
DVCs
own little world.
DVCs are good value. We've already done a show on renting points to stay there, but that's definitely an option that you would look at because you can get a fantastic deal, especially midweek on super deluxe resorts by renting DVC points.
If you're, very quickly here, I would say to wrap this up, if you ask me, if you're staying, obviously everyone has probably stays at a usual level of resorts, whether it be, I always stay at value resorts, or maybe I always stay at moderate resorts, or maybe I do stay at all the time at deluxe resorts. But if you're thinking about possibly jumping up, one upgrade thing, I think that for me, a compelling reason to do that would be if you're planning on either staying longer than you usually do at Walt Disney World, or you're planning on, incorporating more days off at your stay at Walt Disney World. Len, what do you think?
That's a great idea. That's a great rationale. One thing we've considered doing is to combine on-site and off-site nights, and then move up in resorts. So if you're staying like 7 days in Walt Disney World, you might do 3 days off-site and then 3 days at a moderate resort, where the extra money you're spending at the moderate resort you offset by staying off-site somewhere less nice. And this is where you end your vacation on a high note. We've actually gone so far as to do, like, for 7 nights, do 2 nights in a value, 3 nights in a moderate, 2 nights in a deluxe, where it all evens out.
Yep.
Or 2 nights off-site, at Motel 6 for $35 a night or whatever.
Right.
And then get that last night at the deluxe. And that's a decent way to, if you don't mind the packing and unpacking, maybe you do 2. Maybe you do 4 nights off-site, 3 nights at the deluxe or at a moderate, and you only have to unpack once. But you get you get the thrill, but you don't have to spend $2,100 on a hotel room, for your week.
Newell, anything to add?
I was curious, Len, is there a difference between a standard room at Boardwalk and a DVC room at Boardwalk?
Yep.
A standard studio room?
The standard rooms in the you mean like the studios?
Yeah, like a regular standard studio room at Boardwalk and a standard, guest room at Boardwalk. Or did they lease out the same?
Okay, so the studio, that's a good question, because the studio at the Boardwalk is like 412 square feet, so it's about 30 square feet bigger than the typical room at the Boardwalk itself. It's almost exactly the same layout.
Okay.
The last time I was there, it was there were some angles in the walls that were slightly different.
Okay.
Like I think the way that the bathroom was angled, it was sort of like a dog leg. The last time I stayed at the room, whereas I think the standard Boardwalk rooms are rectangular in shape.
Cool.
And I think it's because they were doing the lockout on the Boardwalk Villa room when I was there.
Great. Well, that's it for us today. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.today.com. You can also email us at questions@www.today.com, or line test on Mike Scopa and Mike Newell. I'm Matt Hodgberg. We'll see you on the next show.